Picture this. It's a dark night in April 2024, and American F-15 fighter pilots are about to face something they've never encountered before. Major Benjamin Irish Coffey and his teammate Captain Lacey Sonic Hester took off for what they thought would be a regular mission. But what happened next would change air combat forever. Iran had just launched over 300 drones and missiles toward Israel. Think about that number, 300. Our brave American pilots were the only thing standing between these drones and disaster. What makes this story so amazing isn't just the number of drones. It's what happened when our F-15s, some of the most powerful fighter jets in the world, met their match in an unexpected way. These million-dollar jets started running out of missiles in just 20 minutes. That's right, 20 minutes. "We ran out of missiles pretty quickly," said Lieutenant Colonel Curtis Culver, one of the heroic pilots that night. These skilled American airmen had to think fast. They tried everything, even flying dangerously close to the ground in complete darkness, attempting to shoot down drones with their aircraft guns. Talk about courage under pressure. But here's what makes this story truly special. Despite being outnumbered and running low on weapons, our pilots managed to knock out 70 enemy drones and 3 missiles that night. The attack was stopped, and our airmen proved once again why they're the best in the world. This wasn't just another training exercise or a made-up scenario. This was real combat, showing us something incredible. A small group of American pilots facing off against a swarm of drones, writing a new chapter in air combat history. The bravery didn't stop in the air. On the ground, young airmen stood by fuel trucks during missile attacks, making sure our jets could get back in the fight. As one commander put it, "The courage of that airman, that American, to stand up and do that for an ally, is incredible." For their outstanding bravery that night, these pilots received some of our military's highest honors. Major Coffey and Captain Hester were awarded the Silver Star, showing just how much things have changed in air combat, and how our brave men and women in uniform are ready for anything. This wasn't just another night flight. It was the moment everything changed in the world of air combat. And it leads us to an important question. What does this mean for the future of our fighter jets? Picture this, a jet that can spot threats from miles away, fly faster than a bullet, and carry weapons that can hit targets before they even know what's coming. Major Coffey, one of our top pilots, says it best. "The best radar in the inventory is in this airplane." Each of these amazing machines costs over $80 million, about the same as 400 luxury cars. Why so expensive? Because they're packed with defense systems that have made them nearly impossible to beat in traditional air combat. But here's the twist. These magnificent jets carry just 8 missiles at a time. Usually that's plenty. But what happens when they face hundreds of small drones all at once? That's exactly what our pilots discovered during that Iranian drone attack. Those 8 missiles disappeared faster than anyone expected. Does this make our F-15s any less impressive? Not at all. But it shows us something important. Air warfare is changing, and even the most powerful jets in the world are facing new challenges. Just like a heavyweight champion facing a completely different kind of opponent, our Air Force is adapting to this new threat. Remember those science fiction movies where robot armies move together like a flock of birds? Well, that's not science fiction anymore. Welcome to the world of drone swarms, one of the most fascinating developments in modern military technology. But what exactly is a drone swarm? Think of it this way. Instead of one drone with one pilot, imagine hundreds or even thousands of small drones flying together like a flock of birds. The amazing part? They all work together as one unit, thinking and moving in perfect harmony. Here's what makes these swarms different from your everyday drone. They're smart, really smart. While regular drones need a person to control each one, swarm drones talk to each other using artificial intelligence. They can figure out where to go, how to avoid crashing into each other, and how to work together to complete their mission. And when we say swarms, we mean swarms. In 2018, China showed off what they could do by flying 1,374 drones together in a single formation. That's not even the most impressive part. These weren't just flying in pre-planned patterns like you see in light shows. These drones could actually think and adapt together. But here's what really got military experts' attention. These swarms are incredibly hard to stop. If you shoot down one drone or even dozens, hundreds more keep coming. It's like trying to stop a flood with a bucket. You might block some water, but the rest keeps flowing around you. Our American military has been working on this too. The US Navy's Project Super Swarm is pushing the boundaries even further, developing ways to launch thousands of these drones from ships, submarines, and aircraft. They're small, they're smart, and they work together like nothing we've seen before. Think about what our F-15 pilots faced in that Iranian attack. Now multiply that by 10. That's the kind of future our military is preparing for. But here's the million-dollar question. How does the cost of all these tiny drones stack up against one powerful fighter jet? Remember the biblical story of David and Goliath? Well, we're seeing something similar in today's skies, but with a modern twist. Let's break down this fascinating matchup between our mighty fighter jets and these swarms of mini-drones. Here's something that might surprise you. While one of our impressive F-15 fighter jets costs over $80 million to build, you could make hundreds, maybe even thousands of small attack drones for the same price. It's like comparing a prize-winning racehorse to a colony of determined ants. Our brave pilots and their amazing aircraft have dominated the skies for decades, and they still do. But these swarms are trying something different. They're not trying to outmuscle our jets. They're trying to tire them out. Think about what happened in that Iranian attack. Our skilled pilots had just 8 missiles to work with. Once those were gone, even the world's most advanced fighter jet needed to get creative. But here's what makes our American military special. We adapt and overcome. While these drone swarms might seem like a challenge, our military leaders and brilliant engineers are already working on solutions. The US Navy isn't just watching this happen. They're developing their own advanced swarm technology and defenses through projects like Super Swarm. And let's not forget, quantity isn't everything. Our pilots have something these drones will never have: human judgment, experience, and the unwavering American fighting spirit. As one of our decorated pilots put it, the courage of American airmen to stand up and do their duty is incredible. Sure, you can build a lot of drones for the price of one fighter jet, but can they match the versatility, power, and human ingenuity of our trained pilots in their state-of-the-art aircraft? Let's hear directly from our heroic pilots about the challenges they face in this new era of warfare. Just like a champion boxer needs to know their limits to fight better, our skilled aviators understand exactly what they're dealing with. Major Coffee, one of our decorated F-15 pilots, shares a reality from that Iranian drone attack. We ran out of missiles pretty quickly, 20 minutes maybe. Now, if you find that surprising, type "wow" in the comments below. We'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Think about playing a video game where you have limited ammo. Even the most skilled player needs to reload eventually. Our fighter jets, as incredible as they are, carry just 8 missiles. That's usually plenty for traditional combat, but against a swarm? That's a whole different ballgame. Here's another challenge from the front lines. Captain Hester tells us about trying to spot these tiny drones in complete darkness. You feel the terrain rush. You feel yourself getting closer and closer to the ground. These small drones can be as hard to spot as a mosquito at dusk, even with the world's best radar systems. Fuel is another piece of this puzzle. During that Iranian attack, our brave pilots had to stay in the air for hours, defending against wave after wave of drones. Lieutenant Colonel Causey explains, "When we were getting our brief to go fly that night, we still had no idea how long we'd need to stay up there." But here's what makes our Air Force special. They don't just face challenges, they overcome them. Even when their missiles were spent, our pilots got creative. They tried using their aircraft guns, flying in dangerous conditions, doing whatever it took to complete their mission. Despite these hurdles, not a single enemy drone or missile reached its target that night. That's the American fighting spirit in action. Our pilots prove time and again that it's not just about the technology, it's about the training, determination, and courage of the people in the cockpit. Now let's peek behind the curtain of how these drone swarms actually work together to challenge our fighter jets. Imagine a flock of birds moving perfectly in sync. That's what we're dealing with, but with a high-tech twist. These swarms use something called artificial intelligence, but don't worry, it's not like the movies. Think of it more like a well-coordinated football team. Each drone knows its role, communicates with others, and adjusts its game plan on the fly. During that Iranian attack, our pilots witnessed this firsthand as the drones kept adapting their approach. The real trick is how these swarms attack. They don't just come from one direction like traditional aircraft. Major Coffee explains, "You're dealing with threats coming from every angle. It's like trying to defend against a team that has players attacking from all sides of the field at once." Here's what makes them particularly tricky for our fighter jets. When one drone gets shot down, the others instantly adjust their strategy. In military speak, we call this adaptive behavior. But it's really just like watching a flock of birds quickly change direction when one spots a hawk. The Chinese demonstrated this capability in 2017, flying 119 drones in perfect formation. Each drone could think for itself while working as part of the team. When something got in their way, they'd automatically regroup and keep going, just like water flowing around rocks in a stream. But here's the key point about why these swarms might pose a challenge to fighter jets. They're designed to overwhelm defenses through sheer numbers. Remember those 8 missiles our F-15s carry? A swarm might send dozens of drones against each missile, playing a numbers game that even our best pilots have to work hard to counter. Does this mean our fighter jets are outmatched? Absolutely not. But it does explain why that night in April 2024 was such a wake-up call. Our pilots had to use every trick in the book, and even invent some new ones, to counter this threat. Let's look at some real-world battles where drone swarms have been tested in combat. These examples really show us whether they can actually challenge fighter jets and other military defenses. Remember that night in 2019 when 18 drones and 3 missiles slipped past Saudi Arabia's defenses to hit 2 major oil facilities? It was a wake-up call for military forces worldwide. Even with modern air defense systems in place, these small drones managed to get through, and they weren't even facing fighter jets head-on. But the real eye-opener came during the Azerbaijan-Armenia conflict. As Lieutenant General Dushyant Singh puts it, Azerbaijan's drones picked off Armenian tanks, vehicles, and artillery like 9 pins. Now, these weren't fighters' jets they were up against, but it showed something important: how hard it is to defend against determined drone attacks, even with military equipment worth millions of dollars. Our American military pays close attention to these lessons. That's why, in 2017, we tested our own swarm of 103 Perdix drones working together. Imagine more than 100 small aircraft, each about the size of your hand, all thinking and moving as one unit. Our military pilots described it as learning to box against a swarm of bees. You might be stronger, but they come at you from everywhere at once. The Russians and Chinese aren't sitting idle either. They're running their own tests, trying to figure out how to use drone swarms against aircraft. China even set a record by flying 1,374 drones together. And while this was just a demonstration, it shows what might be possible in real combat. But here's what makes American air power special. We don't just learn from these examples, we adapt and improve. Our pilots train against these scenarios, developing new tactics and techniques. When faced with the Iranian drone swarm in 2024, they proved that skilled pilots in advanced aircraft can still win the day, even against overwhelming numbers. So, how are our military forces defending against these drone swarms? Let's look at the impressive tools and tactics our forces are using to keep our skies safe. Remember how our F-15 pilots handled that Iranian attack? They didn't just rely on missiles. They had a whole arsenal of defenses at their disposal. Modern fighter jets come equipped with electronic warfare systems that can jam drone communications. It's like having an invisible shield that can confuse these drone swarms and make them lose their way. Our ground forces have some amazing tools too. The US military has developed special anti-drone systems that can track and take down multiple drones at once. During recent tests, these systems proved they could protect our bases from drone attacks. As one Air Force commander proudly stated, "When it comes to defending our airspace, we're always several steps ahead." Here's something really interesting. We're also using electronic warfare options. These systems can actually take control of enemy drones or force them to land. During the Iranian attack, our military bases used these advanced systems to protect themselves. The footage from that night shows multiple drones dropping from the sky after their electronics were scrambled. But what about success rates? Well, that night in April 2024 tells the story. Our forces managed to stop 70 drones and 3 ballistic missiles. That's a remarkable achievement. Even when our pilots ran out of missiles, they found creative ways to keep fighting. That's American ingenuity at its finest. And we're not stopping there. The US Navy's research teams are developing even more advanced defensive systems. They're working on something that sounds like it's from the future: defensive drone swarms that can protect our fighter jets, like having a squadron of robotic wingmen. Picture trying to catch hundreds of mosquitoes with a tennis racket. That's similar to what our radar systems face when dealing with drone swarms. Major Coffee explains it perfectly. You're talking about something that is on the very edge of a fighter aircraft's ability to detect. Even our best radar technology, which can easily spot large aircraft from miles away, has to work extra hard to track these tiny targets. Here's what makes it tricky. Traditional air defense systems were built to track and shoot down larger targets like enemy aircraft and missiles. But these mini drones? They're small, fly low, and there are just so many of them. It's like trying to use a baseball bat to swat a swarm of bees. You might hit some, but others will slip through. The cost factor is interesting too. Each missile our fighter jets fire costs more than the drone it's shooting down, sometimes a lot more. During that Iranian attack, our skilled pilots had to make every shot count. As Lieutenant Colonel Qazi puts it, we had to be smart about our resources. But here's where American innovation shines through. Our military isn't just accepting these challenges, they're actively solving them. The US Navy's latest projects are developing new ways to detect and defend against these threats. They're working on systems that can track hundreds of small targets at once, giving our pilots the edge they need. Remember the baseball bat and bees comparison? Well, our military is now developing what you might call an electric fly swatter. Specialized systems designed specifically for taking down multiple small drones efficiently. The US Navy's Super Swarm project is something straight out of tomorrow's headlines. We're talking about thousands of drones working together, launched from ships, submarines, and aircraft. But here's what makes it special. These aren't just regular drones. They're being built right on our ships, as close to the action as possible, ready to defend our forces whenever needed. One Navy commander puts it perfectly. This isn't about matching our competitors. It's about staying 10 steps ahead. Our military isn't just developing swarm technology, we're revolutionizing it. While others are testing dozens of drones, we're developing systems that can handle thousands. Now, China has been busy too. They made headlines by flying 1,374 drones in formation. Impressive, right? But here's what they don't tell you. Nearly 500 of those drones went off course during their big show. As one expert noted, when it came to actual performance, their drones couldn't handle simple GPS interference. Russia claims they're working on drone swarms for their next-generation fighter aircraft. But while they're still in the planning stages, our pilots are already training with these systems, gaining real combat experience like we saw in that Iranian attack. What makes America's approach special? While others focus on quantity, we're focusing on quality and quantity. Our drones can operate up to 300 nautical miles away and keep working even when GPS is blocked, something other nations are still struggling to figure out. This isn't just about building better drones, it's about shaping the future of air combat. And with programs like Super Swarm, America isn't just participating in this race, we're setting the pace. Think about how boxing changed when fighters started facing different styles. That's what's happening in our skies right now. Lieutenant Colonel Culver, one of our top F-15 pilots, explains it perfectly. In Vietnam, we were fighting jet against jet. Now, we're protecting innocent lives from swarms of drones. That's the new nature of this fight. Our military isn't just waiting to see what happens. They're actively preparing for tomorrow's challenges. New fighter jets are being designed with drone swarms in mind. Imagine future F-15s and F-35s carrying their own defensive drone squadrons, like having a team of robotic wingmen. As one Air Force commander puts it, we're not just adapting to the future, we're creating it. The budget side of things is interesting too. While a single F-35 costs millions, our military is getting smart about this. They're investing in both high-end fighter jets and drone technology. It's like having both a heavyweight champion and an entire team of lightweight fighters, each with their own strengths. But here's what makes America special. We're developing complete solutions. While some nations focus only on building drone swarms, we're creating systems to both use and defend against them. Our pilots are training with the most advanced technology available, preparing for whatever challenges tomorrow might bring. The fighter jet isn't going anywhere, it's evolving. Future designs will likely include enhanced anti-drone capabilities, better sensors for detecting small targets, and new weapons specifically designed for countering swarms. As one design engineer puts it, we're making our jets even more lethal while ensuring they can handle any threat. And now, let's answer the big question. Can a swarm of mini drones really take down a fighter jet? Based on real combat experience and expert analysis, here's the straight answer. While drone swarms can seriously challenge fighter jets, they haven't yet succeeded in actually taking one down. That Iranian attack in 2024 came closest, but even when facing over 300 drones, our fighter jets emerged victorious. During the most intense drone attack in history, our F-15s were challenged, pushed to their limits, and even ran out of missiles. But they weren't defeated. What makes this answer so fascinating is how it reveals the true state of modern air combat. Yes, drone swarms can force our jets to adapt, to return to base for reloading, and to develop new tactics. But there's a huge difference between challenging a fighter jet and actually taking one down. Our fighter jets can fly higher, move faster, and most importantly, they have something no drone swarm can match: the human ability to innovate under pressure, just like Major Coffee and Captain Hester demonstrated that historic night. The experts' conclusion is clear. Drone swarms are changing aerial warfare, but they're not the fighter jet killers some predicted. Instead, we're seeing something remarkable emerge. Our military is developing ways to use both platforms together. The future isn't about drones versus jets, it's about how America leads the way in combining both technologies. Imagine our F-15s leading their own defensive swarms. That's not science fiction, that's already in development. What we've learned is that while technology keeps evolving, the key to air superiority remains the same. It's the combination of American innovation and the incredible skill of our pilots that keeps us ahead of any threat, whether it's a single advanced fighter or a swarm of 1,000 drones. The verdict is in: drone swarms are a serious challenge, but our fighter jets, and more importantly, our pilots, still rule the skies. If you found this deep dive into modern air combat enlightening, don't forget to like and subscribe for more fascinating stories about military technology and the brave men and women who keep our skies safe. Until next time, look up with confidence. Our pilots have got this covered.